Hey guys, good evening. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. Today, if you hadn't already read the build or the details, we are going to be doing a bit of a space-themed build, which is where we have the space-themed desk mat and the Space65 for Mike of Novelkeys as well, which we'll be using in just a little bit as well. We are going to finish the Gingham first of all. First big thing to shout out though is people in chat. So Stocks, J420, Rope, Charlie, Querdenker, good to see you. Visionaire as well, saying any ISO available. Shouldn't be too quiet. I've turned off the filter we had last week. The music should be quite quiet. I don't want that to be too loud. Let me just try changing my filter again. That should be a little bit louder. Hopefully that's good. But thank you very much for Visionaire for pointing it out. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. We'll give it a few minutes before we start doing the build and everything else. Sounds desynced. Okay, should be the same. Let me try tweaking that. Start my mic at 40%. It always starts at 100% and I just have a filter on it. Yeah, desync. Okay. Are you seeing me move before you hear me, or hear me before I move? Which way around is it? Tell me which way around it's desynced, and I'll tweak it and we'll get it right. Chris Bezic, good evening. Pasakatilico, I'm gonna guess that's right, and Owie Ow, good evening, guys. Moist Nachos as well. Thank you very much for pointing out that it's desynced. Now it seems okay. It seems like sound first, then vid. Okay. Is it still like that, or is it okay? Let me try clapping, see if that helps. Does that help? Better now. Okay, I don't know what happened. I didn't change anything, so slight offset with sound first view. All right, okay. Slight offset. Let me try tweaking that. Let me try that. Try again. How's that? I've tweaked it slightly because Querdenker said it was a little bit off, but I hope that's the first change I've made, so hopefully that's better. Hopefully that's got it spot on. If you guys tell me it's going the other way now, I changed it by 15 milliseconds, so it shouldn't be too far different. Manageable. So it's still off. Is it? Which way is it, Quer? Is it still? Which way is it off? I want to get this right. Seems better but manageable. Yeah, it needs to be right. It needs to be right, guys. You help me troubleshoot the stream, guys. You help me troubleshoot. We'll get there. Sound still first. All right. Okay. Let me try change. Okay, let's try this now. Clap again. You guys just want to see me clapping, don't you? Hi Titan, we're just doing some sound tweaks because it seems like the sound and video is slightly offset, so I'm just tweaking some settings. That seems fine on mine. Right, okay, cool. That's it. We're going with that. We're not changing anything else. Max Surfy, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining the stream. As I said earlier on, we are going to be building Mike's Space65, so I have that at the side of me. We're going to be finishing, completing that build today. We're going to be doing a few things. We're going to build the board. We're going to do some colour infill, and then we're going to put it together and do a bit of sound test. Before we get there though, we are going to finish off the Gingham from last week. So if you guys tuned in last week, you will have watched me solder every single one of these diodes in, all the other components. Since then I've tidied up a little bit of the soldering on the underside, so it's all nice and neat and even. I've put the stabilizers in, and we're just going to pop some switches in and solder those straight away. Put some keycaps on it, finish putting the case together, and then that board is done. And this board is going to actually be a bit of a workhorse in my garage. With it all being nice and open, I can get the compressed air in there from the compressor and the airline and just blast it clean. So if there's ever any dust flying around, this is probably the perfect keyboard to have in there because it's nice and easy to clean. In terms of switches for this, we are going to go with some Zelios. So these are just silent Zelios. I desoldered them from an old build. They are round 1 Zelios, not round 2. So we're just going to go with those. These are unlubed, completely stock, not changed. Beautiful palms, thank you. No box pinks. No, well, I was going to use box pinks, but then I realised that box pinks don't have PCB mount, or they aren't PCB mount switches, and given there's no plate on this build, I thought it best not to go with plate mount switches for this build. So I dug out what was left in my collection and found some PCB mount ones. You playing music in the background, hear some funky Euro disco. Yeah, you should have some music on quite quietly. It's whatever playlist Brian picked. It's a Monster Cat playlist. I don't know. It's something we can use free that doesn't get us into trouble with copyright and things like that. Yeah, I like to have music in the background while I'm building. So yeah. If you want the music louder, I can turn it up a little bit, or if it's alright for you guys, then it's good for me. I can keep it at this volume as well. Just in terms of other things, you also know that we've got the space theme on in the background as well. There's no music from that today, but it's just a slideshow, an 8-hour long slideshow of Hubble images, so I hope you enjoy those as well. Music's great, good, glad you like it. NR Bigfoot says, hey Jay, just saw the VOD from the other week. Thanks for the shout out. Hope you enjoy finally being able to use white and black in UK ISO. Thank you very much, man. Thank you for that, dude, and thank you for sending those caps. I'll be picking them up from Brian when I hit Seattle in just over a week's time. So a week on Wednesday, I'll be in Seattle, ready for the meetup and looking forward to it all. So can't wait to see you guys there too. I got GAT inks from a user but didn't realise they were plate mount. I have flush cutters. Is that a decent solution? GAT inks are PCB mount, not plate mount. You can cut. So the GAT inks have the same little legs on the bottom as these do. You can cut these little legs off. You can see them just there. You can cut them off and make them plate mount. PCB mount if you want to. But yeah, should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and finish building this board here. This should be nice and simple. Everything is ready to go. We're just going to put the switches in. Now they won't stay in, even though they're PCB mount. They are quite loose. You can probably see that here. Look, they are quite loose. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put one in at a time, solder a leg, keep going through the whole build, get them all in there, solder all the second legs up, make sure everything's nice and flush, put some caps on, and then move straight over to Space65. So it's going to be a pretty rush job for this one. But as I say, this is going to be my garage workhorse. This is going to go in my workshop in my garage at home. I've got a little monitor and PC set up in there. And I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do a stream from there where you can see the car and I can sand some keycaps, sand a plate for my Doro 67, do a few other bits and pieces in the sandblasting cabinet on stream as well in a couple of weeks' time after I get back from Seattle. So there we go. Living Speed Bumps here as well. See you in Seattle. Yes, you will, dude. I think Dixie's trying to arrange a dinner for Friday night. So I'll be in touch once I have more details of that. Or Brian will as well. Bigfoot asking, have you been using the Equinox at all? How are you liking the wing keyless 40? I have. It's right at the side of me. I can grab it quite easily. Here it is. Since last week, I've used this for about 3 or 4 hours at work. It's difficult to use, I'll be honest. I find it harder to use than my TMO50, but I'm getting there. I'll keep plugging away with it and keep trying with it. The lack of punctuation keys is something I always struggle with. But the biggest problem I have on this is I haven't put a function layer on it to give me the numbers yet, so I need to program that in at some point this weekend before I go back to work. So yeah, it's all looking good. Board looks great. Yeah, really enjoying it. Okay. I'll buy y'all some drinks. After the cost of my flights to get out there, I'll need someone to buy me drinks, let me put it that way. But right, let's crack on with this build before we move on to Mike's Space65. So as I said, what we're going to do here is we're literally just going to put the switches in, solder a pin in, and then we'll go from there. Now these are not particularly tight. They will almost fall out of the plate, so the plate mount isn't holding them in particularly well. But what we're going to do is just push them in, solder one pin, and then move on. And I know I'm getting into it pretty quick here before the bot's pinged and everything else, but 2 builds in one night, I need to crack on. Talisman Solution and lubed helos are here as well as OpDoc as well. So there we go. Let's make a start. What's the lube up front? Oh, that's the blue lube here. That's 205 grade 0. That's going to be for mic stabilizers when we get there. The stabilizers I put in this board are already lubed. They were actually stolen from another board. Help if I turn my soldering iron. Bot was already pinged. Excellent, excellent. So we're ahead of schedule then with the bot. But yeah, as I say, this is a bit of a space-themed build, hence why we've got the space map from Mike as well. Big shout out to Mike as well. He sent me this kindly the other day, along with the board, so it kind of fits the theme, and hence the space images in the background as well today. Right, okay, so let's crack on. We are just going to solder one pin in for each of these switches, as I mentioned before. Try and get through this as quickly as possible. Try and put a couple in here, see if I can get them to hold somewhat and pressure them from the other side. Maybe do 3 at a time. Just don't want them falling out when I tip it over. Yeah, maybe that's not going to work. They're going to come out too easily. Okay, 1 at a time it is. Sorry guys. So we're just popping it in the other side, pushing down, making sure we've got plenty of solder in there. Let it heat up. Don't release the board until the solder sets as well, guys, because it will take a second for the solder to set in place. So always make sure you put pressure down, heat the pin and the pad, apply solder, remove the soldering iron, and then wait before you release the pressure. Oops. Catch the Grand Prix. I did watch the Grand Prix. I've got to be honest, that Grand Prix today, the British Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Max Verstappen, all up in there having a great battle today. So I won't spoil the results for anyone, but if you haven't watched it, do go and watch it because it's probably the best race of the year so far in my view. Could be cool if it support Alps. This board does support Alps. The Gingham does support Alps. I'll show you in a second. So here we go, guys. If you want to look at the PCB, you can see here that we've got for each switch, we've got 2 pinpoints. You've got the southernmost one here, and the one on the right here. That's for the MX switches, and then you've also got Alps, which will fit on that one just there. So you can have Alps or MX on this particular board, depending on what you want to do. Let's say we're going to try and fly through this build, finish it off from last week, and then we can move straight on to building Mike's board, which is the focus of this particular show. So a big shout out to Yankar for making this board. This has been a really fun little project. It's the most in-depth thing I've done on a keyboard for a long time, having to solder on all these diodes and MCUs and God knows what else. It's been good fun. Brian Force said it would have been better without the safety car, but Seb ramming Max made me scream out of the flags. Yeah, absolutely. Completely Sebastian's fault, in my view. That was entirely his error. and I was surprised there was no more damage to the cars. I was surprised both of them could continue the race, to be honest with you. That was the more shocking part of it. Natty is here as well, saying hey all, hey man. Seb making rookie mistakes was hard to watch. Seb's not had his mind in the game for a couple of years now. He's been making forced errors on track, and you know, he was a great world champion, but I think he's better at leading from up front and having a car that demolishes everything else rather than being a racing driver, to be honest with you. Not that he's to take away anything from his skill. He's there in Formula 1 because he's one of the best, but he just doesn't shine a torch to the likes of Hamilton or Verstappen or Leclerc, as we've seen. Seb running Max and then ending 10 places behind Max made by Tay. Yeah, I don't know what position Seb finished actually. I assume it was behind the Williams, but because he had the 10-second penalty and everything else as well. 15th. Alright, okay. Was that including his penalty? Because I'm not where he finished. He would have had his 10-second penalty applied, wouldn't he? Or did he get a 10-second penalty for it? I can't remember. I can't recall. I think he did. Good evening, good sir. Thank you for joining. He would have been ahead of Kubica. Yeah, okay. So happy for Leclerc. Going to be a great rivalry with Verstappen. Yeah, those two are the future of the sport. Once we get Hamilton and Seb out of the sport, when they start to retire over the next few years, I think Leclerc and Max are going to be the rivals of the future, the ones to watch. Gasly also surprised me today as well. Who was my driver of the day? Norris. I felt really bad for Norris. He lost out at the safety car. The team made a terrible strategy decision, but he drove his art out today. So my driver of the race would be Norris. If I couldn't have Norris and you guys disagree with that, my second choice would be Leclerc, just because of all the defending he did in the first stint of the race. 16th including penalty. Yeah, I thought he was a bit further back. Yeah, I think what fixed it for Gasly, and a friend pointed this out to me, Bledin, if he's watching, he pointed this out to me, was that Gasly was actually using Max's setup for the car for the first time ever. He was previously using his own setup, and this time he was using Max's setup, and it was like watching two different races. He was a completely different racing driver. So okay. So that's the F1. I feel like I've talked more about the F1 than I have about keyboards today. Okay. Just going to quickly, as I say, I am trying to rush through this build a little bit. It is going to be my garage board, so it doesn't need to be perfect, but we'll get it as close as we can. As I say, all we're doing is just soldering one pin in per switch. And so this board's perfect for the garage, because it can just go on the workbench in there, and if it gets dust on it or anything like that, I can just get the compressed air onto it from the compressor, blast that at it a few times, you know, put the air gun on it without any painting or something like that, and yeah, it's going to clean it right up. It's never going to have any issues from that perspective. He'll learn to set up the car with his more experience in the great engine, I think, but I wasn't aware of that. Makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't aware of it either until Bledin told me. But it does make sense. So I'm kind of interested to see the Space65. I've not unboxed it yet. I've not taken it out of the box. Obviously, I've seen images and I bought one myself in the group, but mine hasn't arrived yet. Mike's arrived earlier on this week, so I'm excited to have a look at it. And as I say, we are going to be doing some infill on it as well. So I know he's got a silver one with a black accent back piece. So we're going to do the infill for the logos on top and inside the board. We're going to do those in black, and then on the black back piece, it's got a logo on the back there as well. We're going to fill that one in with silver acrylic paints. We'll probably do the infill first, and then I can carry on building the board while the infill paint dries. almost 2 rows done now, guys. This is going pretty smoothly so far. Famous last words, right? Chris Bezic says my space is due tomorrow. Can't build it, but I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying one out. As I say, it's a shame betraying Mike's out before my own, but sometimes these things happen. It'll be all good. Okay. Straight Class is here as well. Good evening, Mr. Classy. Good to see you. I'll be trying some of your switches out shortly. So the switches that Mike sent with his board are T1s, and they've been lubed by Classy. So I'm interested to see what his lube technique feels like. Okay. I like how Seb was like, what was he doing over the team radio? And their comment was like, sliding down for the corner. Yeah. He just got completely taken by surprise. Completely outdrove himself on the car there. Haven't been in a while. What was the fix for the camera shutting off? So the fix for the camera shutting off was me being an idiot. I had a setting that was changed where you can change the temperature warning to a higher setting, and also my stream lights, they used to be directly above the camera. They used to be like literally pointing straight down. Now they're offset into the sides on an angle. They are just up here and up here, fastened to the ceiling, and I've got a switch which you can just see down here built into the desk, and that turns them on and off. So if I flick that, you'll see that it turns all my lights off, back on. So yeah. Okay, so that's the first 2 rows done. 2 more full rows, and then we've got the bottom row to do. Get some more switches ready, and then we'll go back and quickly just solder up all the second pins. So we're just putting one pin in, well, we're putting both pins in, we're just soldering one pin at a time at the moment, and the reason for that is just because this is a PCB mount board without a plate, and the switches don't hold into the PCB mount on their own. So just taking it steady, soldering one at a time, making our way around the board, keeping it nice and simple. Cygnus is here as well, saying, hey all, hey man, good to see you, dude. Straight Classy says, no pressure. No, there's no pressure, man. You know, just because I don't like something or like something doesn't make it right or wrong. Everyone's got their own opinions in this community, so irrespective of whether I like your switches, dude, it's whether your customers do. That's the main thing, and I'm sure they're great. We'll find out in a few minutes. Any chance you'll test the Utemu Sky tactile stem in an MX Blue housing combo today? I'll have a look in my box of wonders, and if I have got the switches I need, I can have a look at that right at the end of the stream, Brian. If you remind me, I will definitely try and do that towards the end of the stream. Dixie Max here as well. Yo man, good to see you, dude. Are those punchy blacks? No, these are just Zelios. I'm just finishing off the Gingham. These are silent Zelios. V1 Silence. If it focuses. Come on. Come on. There we go. Just standard Gator on V1 Silence. Unlubed, completely stock. And just ready for this Gingham build, which is going to go in my garage. So when I need to order car parts or new compressor parts or God knows what else, I can use them on the computer in the garage and have a mech keyboard out there. Okay. Punchy blacks. No. Okay. Yeah. So just completing the build of the Gingham first, and then we'll be moving on to the Space65, which is just at the side of me, which is Mike's personal board that he sent me and asked me to build for him. That's Mike from Novelkeys, one of our lovely sponsors. So feel free to go and check out Mike's store if there's anything you're looking for. And as I say, we'll take a look at his board. We'll unbox it. We'll take a look at the board itself. We'll do some infill. With some black and some silver paints, and then we'll build the board while we're waiting for the infill to dry. We'll put it all together, put some keycaps on it, and then do a little sound test and see what we think. Salvin's here as well. Good evening, sir. Good to see you again. 2 weeks on the trot now. I think you've been hitting. So Punchy Blacks, Brian. So there was a company called Punchy, which came out of the remnants of a company called Revo, who made keyboards previously. There was a series of switches. They originally made Revo Whites, which was under the Revo brand, and then they changed the names to Punchy. I think it was some of the original members and some other people created the Punchy company. And they did a range of punchy switches within that. I don't know what colours and weights they were. I did try some punchy greens, which I think were linears, maybe tactiles, I can't recall, it's so long ago now. And they were mediocre, they weren't terrible, they were okay switches. But they may have done a ton more, and that might be what he's referring to. They're like Gap Blacks, but Punchy sells on Turbo with the springs in them. It's Revo. Yeah, Revo and Punchy are basically the same thing. And it was Revo Whites. I never knew they did Revo Blacks. I knew they did Revo Whites, but I didn't know there was Revo Blacks. In fact, I have a box of Revo Whites somewhere around. So yeah. You building up a car, Jay? I remember spotting an old Nissan Datsun on your Insta. Yeah, so that car's finished. That car is that's drivable. It's running. It's completely restored from the ground up. It was a couple of years' labour of love doing that. Now there is some other project cars that I'm working on as well. I've got 7 cars I think in total. So yeah, there will be some car activities later in the summer after I get back from Seattle. Obviously I won't be streaming those on Top Clack, but a few people have asked if I would do them on my old channel, which I may well do. So we'll see how that goes. This is split left shift time. Fluffy was saying, how did he get hands on the T1s? They were Mike's switches. Mike sent them to me. I did have some T1s that I bought during the group buy. I used them in... Which build did I use them in now? I built a antique copper TX65 in a HHKB layout. I used my T1 switches in that build, which was a number of weeks ago now. But the board is behind me. You can just see it. It's the one on an angle just back in this corner. That's the board with T1s in. But the switches I've got today, they were just sent from Mike. I think Mike would have had stock of them on Novelkeys, and he's just had some switches left over, and he requested I use them for a build stream. So, simple as that. Didn't the Revo Whites just end up being respringed Milky Gatorons? Yes, they were. So Milky Gatorons with a custom spring. The punchy springs aren't bad actually. I have got a few sets of them. They're probably better than the stock Gatoron springs, if I'm honest. But I wouldn't say they were better than TX or Sprit springs, which are probably the 2 best on the market right now. You've got some good taste, man. Love those old cars. Yeah, dude, old cars are better than new cars, is my honest view. I just love old vehicles. If I could justify driving one as a daily in the UK where it wouldn't rust, then I would do. But I'd rather let my company car rust than use one of my classics every day in the rain and snow and whatever else we get over here. You got some good taste, but yeah, now because of drama, T1s are expensive as Zelios. Yeah, T1s are alright. I think Zelios V2 is still a better switch. They always were. When I first wrote about the T1s, when I got the samples in, which was before the group buy completed, my view was that they were about 95% of a Zelio V2 in terms of their feel, and I think I'd probably still stick with that. Almost there on this Gingham build now, guys. A few more switches to put in. Go back and resolder all the second legs of all these switches, and then we'll go from there. And what is this music Brian has picked? Which brand from TX are you talking about when you say that top plate? The TX springs. I can show you some. There you go. These springs are probably the second best springs on the market. Sprit are the better ones. But of course we know that Sprit's had problems and not everyone wants to support him. He does seem reformed and I'm all about reformation, so I'm happy to continue using him for my products. Other people may not, and that's entirely a personal choice, and I completely respect it either way. Dixie Max says, not your opinion, it's just a fact. Yeah, well, fair. People might disagree with me on the percentages though. Come on. Okay, that wasn't solid. Give it a second. There we go. Oh yeah, cherry ones. Well, the kale ones will only work in kale switches. They won't work in MX switches. So, yeah, you just got to buy the ones that you need for your switches. I don't tend to use kale switches very often. I'm more about the MX lifestyle. Existentially yours, welcome to the chat, man. Thank you for joining. How's everyone's day going? My day's going well. Spent a bit of time out in the garden earlier on. Watched the Formula 1. Did some chores around the house for the wife. Got some brownie points. And now I'm building keyboards for you guys. So pretty much a good day. Buy Sprit from vendors who have them in stock, not directly from Sprit. Maybe. I don't mind going down to Sprit. To be honest, he's really chatty. He's a very nice gentleman when you talk to him. He shows pictures of his facilities and factories and his home and things he does. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like he wants to do well and he wants to make up for the mistakes he's made in the past, which I'm all for. I'm all for supporting that. Oh, and Straight Classy gifted a tier 1 sub. And that went to I'm Steffi. Thank you very much for that, Classy man. Thank you, dude. I'm sure that's a bribe to say that your switches are good, but we'll see when we get to them. Friends are installing an MK, a Mach 1 GTI. It's just so much character. Yeah, old cars are cool. I've got a couple of builds I want to do this. So I want to finish off a Beetle. I also want to do some work on a catering kit. Start building that up. It won't get finished this year, but I want to start getting it built up and start doing some stuff to that. I do need to do a little bit of tweaking to the Datsun, not much, but there's a couple of things I want to tweak. I want to replace the door cards, put new wiper handles on, a few little bits like that really. Okay, 2 more switches guys, and then we have got this board pretty much there. We just need to go around and solder the second pins, which will take a few minutes, and then we'll be on to the nice bit, which is putting together, putting some keycaps on it, and going from there. Cyber Sam subscribed with Twitch Prime as well, subscribed for 15 months. Thank you very much, Cyber Sam. Thank you, dude. Genuinely appreciate the support you've shown us, dude. Okay, so that's all the switches in. I'm just going to give it a check, make sure that they're all nice and flush with the plate, as you can see, or the PCB even. So they're nice and flush all the way down each row. Everything's looking good. Nothing's looking lifted, nothing's looking off square. As you can see, everything looks nice and square and even. So we're going to go with that. So now it's time to solder in the second pins. And then once we've done this, we can put the base on, we can put the rest of the kit together, put some keycaps on it, and then it can go out into the garage and be ready for service. There's my parts ordering keyboard. Okay. So a touch more solders this one. There we go. Okay, making some good progress now, guys. Almost there. I'm more interested in something along the lines of SKCM neon green leaves. Interesting. I have to check to find browns, neon greens. Unfortunately, I have some brown. I'll be doing a brown build soon. Actually, an Alps brown build. I'll be building a Borsdorf when the board ships. I think that Darth, who's behind that, should be ready to ship them soon. Salvin, I know you've been working on those Borsdorf boards as well. I did see on your Insta that there was some significant works with some home cerakoting, which looks really good. Really good. PITJ, no, I've got a fan on the side of me. It is blowing most of the fumes away, but no, for the amount of soldering I do, which is 1 or 2 boards a week, the amount of lead in solder is never going to hurt me. It's just too small a amount, and the fact that you don't really get any problems with the lead oxides and everything else until you start hitting temperatures of around 500 degrees, and I solder at under 400, under 350 degrees, I should be completely fine. I'm not a smoker, I don't drink much, so this is going to be such a small amount that it's not going to hurt me. And plus it smells lovely. The roasting core is probably doing me more harm than the lead in the solder. Going to come back on this route. We're about halfway through now, guys. Halfway through doing all of these second pins. Touch muscles, that one. Okay. Making solid progress now, guys. Nope, no need. A board here and there, no biggie. Yeah, as I say, Classy has got exactly right. Yeah. Sullivan says yes. Had to fix that horrible anodized job that came in. Yeah, I saw pictures of that. It didn't look too great. Yeah, it's not going to get stuck in the room, Jay. So I have a fan on there. The window at the side of me is wide open. I'm surprised you can't see the curtains blowing past. So there's plenty of airflow in the room. It'll be fine. It's not the lead, it's flux, is it? Yeah, the roasting core is probably more harmful than the lead. I'm just going to touch this one up. And this one. There we go. Okay, now back along this row. And we're almost there now, guys. Yeah, I might have to find a better playlist for next week, guys. I'm sorry about this. Okay, almost done. Let's just finish this row off, then the bottom row to go. Into the final stretch now, guys. Last couple of pins now. There we go. There we go, guys. That's all soldered together. Let's catch up with chat, see what we're talking about here. 2 to 3 raw Brazil nuts a day, daily dose of selenium, your body's natural way to get rid of heavy metals. Nice, good tip, good tip. Jay doesn't worry about lead. His intelligence has already been lowered by responding to comments in chat, such as this one. Fair enough, fair enough. It just makes the lead paint on the walls whiter. Indeed, yeah. Have you experienced Helios V2 develop a leaf click? A couple of mine after lubing. No, I've never experienced that, I'll be honest. I've got a few boards with Helios V2 and I've never experienced that. Yeah, sounds weird. Maybe contact Zeal, see what he has to say about it, but I've not had that. Okay, so that's that put together. We'll test the board really quickly. I don't think I've got a... no, I don't. Let me add a source for switch here. Give me 1 second, guys, and then you can see that in a second. Trying to find switch hitter here in the list. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. I will find it. How do I have so much stuff open? Ah, there it is. Okay, let's just shrink this down. Okay. Then let's just add a filter and crop this. Sorry guys, it will only be a second. No, it needs more than that. I'll do, maybe I'll tweak that slightly. There we go. There we go. That looks good. Just bob that there for a second. Okay guys, so I'm going to plug this in and then you'll be able to see that the board actually does work, that what I've soldered does work, and then we'll just test these switches as well. Okay, so I say it's going to work. My USB hub doesn't want to recognise it. The last USB device you connected to this computer's malfunction and Windows doesn't recognise it. Great! Let's just try it anyway. Let's see what we get. Yeah, nothing. Typical. Typical. Okay, we'll fix that later on, guys. It was working earlier on. In fact, we'll try the reset button. Yeah. Oh well, I'll worry about that later on. It does work, as I tested it earlier on extensively because I was worried about my soldering job. So we'll crack on with the rest of the build. The next thing we're going to do is bring the base over. So you'll see that on the base I've already installed some screws here on the edge and on this side as well. And on here you'll see that there is some screws like this one here in the middle. In fact, let me get rid of switch hitter. There we go. Some screws like this one in the middle. And what they do effectively is they go through these mount points all across the board. So some go up and some go down. So all we're going to do is line them all up, put them together. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the standoffs which are here. And what these do is these go on top of the pins that have come through from the bottom. And we're going to tighten them in place. Just hand tight's fine for this sort of stuff. There's 4 of these. And that's going to enable us to put the clear perspex over the top shortly. Okay, so now that all of those are in place, we're just going to turn the board over, and the pins that come through the bottom, we're now going to put some nuts on them. I'm just going to finger tighten these. They don't need to be too tight. Again, it all holds to work together well enough. I'll grab hold of these. You can screw them from the other side and hold them with a spanner if you really wanted to get them tight, but to be honest, finger tight is more than enough for these. How long has it been since you've soldered on through hole diodes? I did these last week. I did test the board earlier on today. It was working fine, so I might have shorted something from one of the switches, but I'll look at that later on. Prior to that, it was a long time ago, probably 2 years, 3 years, something like that. So there we go. That's all that put together. So now you can see that it's got the components all stood apart there. That's nice and even now. Got the rubber feet on in the corners as well, so that rests on the rubber feet. And then the next thing we're going to do is take the perspex bar. We're going to take the perspex covering off of one side, if I can get this to peel. Okay, so this is just stuck on with some crazy strong adhesive. There we go. That should help. There we go. Peel it off one side. Line up the rubbish. I'm going to peel off the top side as well. If I don't ruin my fingernails. There we go. Peel it off as well. Pop that on top of the board. And then there's just 4 screws that hold this in place. Just going to finger tighten these for now, and then I'll grab a screwdriver in a second to tighten these down. And then we'll pop some keycaps on the board. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the mouse is an MX Master 2, Brian. I use this one at home, and I've got the MX Anywhere for work. Although I tend to use my iPad more than anything else for work these days. I'm just going to tighten these up now. So I'll sort out the issue with the board not working later on. Okay. It was definitely working when I tested it earlier, so I'm confident we can get it working. And there we go, guys. That's the Gingham build. So this is how the Gingham looks completed. So it is Plaid inspired, and that's how the board looks. Now it's time to pop some keycaps on there. If you guys have got any questions, now's the time to ask while I'm doing something simple like keycaps. On the Plaid I did, I had to flash it first. The chip didn't come with anything preloaded. Yeah, that's already been done as all that. That was already done previously, last week. And everything was working earlier on today when I tested it out, so I'm not quite sure why it's not working now. That was right round. The good thing about this as well is if there was any problems with the stabilizer or anything else later on, we can easily fix them. Okay. This is GMK Hyperfuse keycap setup we're putting on here. Try and move out of the way the keycaps that we don't need. Go. Every build 10 Strong's done so far has involved soldering diodes and micros. Yeah, that's a little bit intense. I tend not to do builds that need that, and we can do them as we've proven with this build, but I do tend not to do those things. Just going to try and sort quickly through these keycaps, what I need and what I don't need. And then we'll get the keycaps on the board, and then we'll move on to onto the Space65. I think we've got the actual UK keys in this kit. So we should be okay from that perspective as well. 25, there we go. Okay. Gorgeous board. Yeah, it looks great. I think it looks great. It's nice to have something a little bit different. It's really nice to have something a little bit different to build on stream. A lot of the things that Brian and I build are so much more... Well, they're so much more expensive and they're less involved, and you know, something like this takes a lot of time to do. I mean, it's taken me, you know, a build stream and a half to complete this effectively. you know, so it feels more value for money in terms of the time. I think this was £65 or something like that, so about $70. So yeah, I think in terms of value for money, in terms of time spent building it and entertainment to complete something factor, I think this wins. But that being said, I love a lot of my boards, so I probably wouldn't send them away. I should have a UK key for that. Don't need that. Okay. Don't need that. There we go. I'm starting to make some progress now. It takes forever to do this. I should have sorted out the keycaps that I needed. Okay. Almost there with the modifiers now. Sadly, the board only supports full caps lock. There's no step caps lock here, guys, I'm afraid. Do I think it feels fragile? No, I don't think it feels fragile at all. It feels fairly robust. I mean, there's a bit of flexibility to it, but nothing major. And a lot of boards with thicker cases, you know, aluminium cases, people want flex in there these days, so I think that's fine. Okay. Don't need any more mods. Oops. Okay. Don't drop that then. Okay. And there we go, guys. This is the Gingham with GMK Hyperfuse on. Do we have a switch that needs depressing there? Okay, so that switch is just slightly raised off the thing, so I'll just need to resolder that one in. But as I say, we have the Gingham here with GMK Hyperfuse round 1, which does have an F8 key. Does this kit? My other kit doesn't. Inspired by built by Yankar, designed by Yankar, but this inspired by the Played, and there we go. And this stands for Gingham through hole in Japanese on the bottom as well. Yeah, it is really flexible. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you'll see how flexible it is if I just do that. Yeah, interesting to type on, I suspect. No point in a typing test on this one, guys, because it's very much. I don't know if you guys can see how much that's bouncing. Let's see if I can zoom in a second. Can you guys see how much this bounces when you're typing on it? Is that visible? I feel like it's not visible, but there is a huge amount of bounce there. It's crazy, crazy. Snap, could you flex it in half? Yeah, I don't think I'm weak enough that I would struggle to snap it in half if that was needed to be done, but I'm not going to snap it in half. Hyperfuse on a garage board is the ultimate effect. I've got 2 sets of Hyperfuse. This is a rather shiny set, and actually this set's going to be in the garage first, because I'm going to try and sandblast this in a couple of weeks. Back to its former roughness or texture that it came from the factory with, and try and blast some of the alphas, see if that works to roughen the keycaps. I know it's been done before, I know a few people have done it, but I want to try it for myself, so I'm going to have a go. This is OG Hyperfuse, not Origins. Can you sandblast GMK? Yeah, you can do. Yeah. There's enough plastic in there to be able to do it. Yes. I'm gonna grab a drink. Yeah, a lot of my GMK sets are shiny now. I don't even know how many GMK sets I've got. Maybe 30 or so. Maybe a bit more. Shine does equal love, yeah, but I'm definitely going to try. I'm tempted to just try and fix this keycap now. Actually, this switch. In fact, you know what? No, I need to concentrate on Mike's build, because I do have to get that done. I'll fix that off stream. It is just literally that the. In fact, it's not even the switch that's soldered in properly. It's the housing of the switch that's just slightly off. It's already better now. It's not completely fixed, but it's just the housing of the switch that's not fully depressed on, so I'll fix that off stream. Now guys, it is time to get on to the main event of this stream. So no discredit to Yankard, the Gingham is a great board, it's going to be great in my garage, I'm looking forward to using it. But we are going to now move on to Mike's board. This is... move the switch out of the way for a second. So this is the Grey Studio. Space65, or the Spac65 as it was originally. Coca-Cola commercial break. Pause the refreshes. Yeah. Can you sandblast GMK? You can do it. You can sandblast GMK. You are taking away material. It will roughen up the keycaps. You can probably do it 2 or 3 times for each keycap, but you may run into problems if you take too much material away. It's a difficult one to do, but we'll give it a try on stream and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, on to the main event. So this is the reason why I've got the space scenes in the background playing. This is the reason why I've got a space decimat on here, which is absolutely fantastic, by the way. The radial design rather than the one that goes straight across. I think I prefer this one. This is Mike's Grey Studio Space65 made by Air Potter. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the box out. Now the box doesn't open like an normal box, this just slides out. That's the first thing I've noticed. There we go. As you can see, it just slides in like an envelope box. Nice and sturdy though. Put that to one side. We have a tool on a very, very long bag. So I'm going to just quickly pop this out. Are you willing to sell me the purple mods for Hyperfuse? No sir, I am not. Sorry about that. I don't like to split sets up unless I can really, really help it. Taking off the first layer of foam and the second layer, we get to PCB. This has already got the LEDs for one side on the side of the board in position and in place. That's all soldered on completely, it looks. LEDs on the top, USB-C. I will need to grab some scissors to take this out of here. All looks rather good. Now, guys, it's time for you to decide, or try and guess what layout Mike has asked me to build this board in. What layout do you think Mike wants on this board? There we go. That bag was hilarious. Packaging, I just got here so I didn't hear the answer. Packaging designed to frustrate those with short fingers. Yeah, absolutely. Bag was hilarious, yeah. It was really long. I don't know why it was that long for one small tool, but it was. Just pop that there so I don't lose it. So that's the PCB out of the out of the bag now. So as you can see, it's got these LEDs at the side here. It's also got these ones that are horizontal, so these are a separate PCB. So I'm just trying to show this to the camera a little bit better. So this is a separate PCB that's mounted at an angle and soldered in place, and that's to give you some side shine through one of the sides of the board. Breastplate, well this is PVD, so in fact I got scissors out, I didn't even need to because these have got tear marks on them. So as you can see that this does mount on 3 sides, doesn't mount on the top for some reason. We'll have a look at the design of the board when we get there. But pretty nice plate, brass, shiny, PVD finish. There is one mark on it here, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a scratch mark on it just there. Looks like a tooling mark for when the switch cutout was made. Let's move that to one side. And then here is the board. So as you can see guys, carbon fibre plate. Oh gosh, that's tight. Get that to one side. It's a carbon fibre plate. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a logo cut into the inside of the board. It looks like scratches from here, but it's not, and that's based on the Voyager messages that we sent to the stars with the Voyager missions, which is what these stand for here as well. So we are going to infill these 2 little bits here. This is for one of the logos on the PCB, sorry, the lights on the PCB that we saw earlier on. So you can see those will be shining through that gap there, and then those will shine through that acrylic on the side. So as we're looking at the rest of the board, if we turn it over on the base, you can see that we've got the Grey Studio logo and Space65, so we're going to infill these as well. We're not going to infill the rubber feet because that's obviously where we're going to put the rubber feet. It does have this angled piece just here, which is kind of interesting. We're also going to fill in the Voyager 1 logo. I'm not sure how clearly that shows because it's on black. The Voyager 1 logo there in silver to match the rest of the board, and that is just a magnet piece to hold it in place, which is kind of loose to be honest. It does look like it's missing one of the magnets from the middle. That did pop off with alarming ease, but it seems pretty steady on the board. And again, just from the front, it has got this lip just underneath, which is kind of interesting. So there we go guys, that's what it looks like. We'll take this apart in a second and we'll see what the goodies inside here. I assume it's the rubber feet and a few other bits and pieces. Carbon fibre plate's a nice touch, but it is going to be really, really firm. Mike didn't specify whether he wanted brass or the carbon fibre. I'm going to go with the carbon fibre because it fits the theme better, I think. Carbon fibre, space. I'll pop that to one side. In terms of the layout as well, so Mike actually specified that we do it in US ISO, which means that we'll be doing an ISO enter with full left shift. So instead of split left shift like I've got on this board here, it'll have full left shift but with an ISO enter key. Let's catch you with chat, see what we're saying. The bag was hilarious, yep. Long boy. Split backspace, split right shift. He wants full backspace and split right shift. So not far off there. It's a 65, yeah. There's no option for right shift Dixie. Yeah, it's split, yep. Because of the arrow keys. And the fingerprints, yeah. We'll get fingerprints on it, that's fine. It does actually look really nice, it's really nice. It's nicer than I thought it would be. It makes me look forward to mine even more now. Lots and lots of infill to do on this though. Gosh, look at the size of that. Wow. Let's go almost all the way through to the top of the board. What's interesting is that the screws are on the outside there, and one's on the inside and one's on the outside here. So the screws aren't opposed in the correct positions. In my head, I would have thought that that one would be there. There may be a design reason for that, we'll see. Quiddick sadly has to go. Have fun with the build. Thank you very much, man. I will do. Looking forward to seeing more pictures of your unicorn, dude. I've enjoyed seeing those over the last couple of days. Still not got my unicorn yet. Still not even got my shipping. Probably for the LED. Yeah, you're right, guys. You're right. That's why it's there. Yeah. For some reason that last screw doesn't want to come out. There we go. Okay. Got the PCB to one side. So in terms of the mount, you can see that it does mount on 3 edges. It doesn't mount on the top, which means there is going to be some flex from that position. You're absolutely correct. That is where the LEDs go. So I imagine there's a diffuser that will slot into that position there as well. Okay. There's the rubber feet for later on. I'll come back to those. This is the logo that I was telling you guys about on the inside. I don't know how well that's going to show up. Try and angle it in the light. But that is one of the messages that we sent across the stars on the Voyager 1 mission. So we're going to infill that for Mike as well. Might not do on stream today because I've got a lot of infill to do as well, and I want to make sure that we get it all covered. The insert for the LEDs comes out nice and easy. That's polycarbonate, I think, rather than... Yeah, it's definitely polycarbonate rather than acrylic. And then, as I said before, there is the magnetic piece on the back. I am wondering if this is 2 magnets in one here and it's just got stuck. Might have a try and look at that off later on, because magnets on this side are embedded and this one is slightly raised in the middle. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it is slightly raised there, so I think that might be both magnets stuck together and the adhesive's just worn off on the inside of that. Okay, I'm going to remove the plate now and then we'll carry on with the build from there. I must say the machining on this is really good. I'm very impressed with the machining quality here. Screw holes kind of trigger me. Yeah, being offset like that, yeah. It makes sense why they're like that. As Anarchy pointed out, it is because of the LEDs that go in that corner. So it kind of makes sense. I wonder if G&K Voyager will end up here eventually. Yeah, I'd like to think so. Voyager's a really nice set. Now Mike has sent me a key set to put on this, and an artisan as well, which I'm insanely jealous of. Okay, the screws got stuck on this. I'm gonna have to just try pushing this back in a second. So I'm just going to try and screw this screw back in because the tool is stuck onto it. Okay, there we go. Gosh, some of these are quite tight. Okay, almost there, and then we'll start doing some infill. As I say, we are going to do this logo in silver, and then we're going to do the base logos in black, the top logo on the other side in black as well, and then we will do the one on the inside of the case, but I might do that off stream later on because I'll need everything else to dry before I do that one for Mike. Okay, so that's the plate there as well. Move that to one side. So just to recap, we're going to infill here in black. That's the Voyager logos just there. Going to infill the Grey Studio and the Space65 logos in black as well. And then we're going to infill the Voyager 1 logo on here in silver. There we go. Okay, so we'll start off with the easier stuff, which is probably the base, and then move on to the more difficult things. I'll show you guys my method. So a few things that you need, guys, when you're going to do this. First of all is a rubber tool. This is just a grout tool, just a nice bit of flexible rubber. You can use a bit of rubber hose, or you can use a squeegee, or anything else you've got that fits the bill. Some wet wipes for 2 reasons. You want to clean the surface first, make sure there's no dirt and grime on there, and then you'll also need them to clean up any you're kind of going to go out of the lines and stuff, so you use this to clean up over the top afterwards as well. Make sure you're protecting that anodization. I'm just going to clean the 2 logos, give them a second to dry. So while we're doing that, we'll open these because I'm not sure what's in here. So assume this is the filters for the LEDs. If that decides to come out. Yeah, so these are just filters for the LEDs. They're nice and easy to install. And then I think that's a spare pack of them as well. So they just slot into that. Both of them stacked together will just go in here. In fact, we can probably put these in now. And they'll just diffuse those LEDs nicely. Okay, so those are in place. Looks all nice and neat from that end. There we go. Screw holes go under the feet. Yes, they do go under the feet on this board. Yes. Okay. So we're going to infill this and this in black. Now the black I'm using is Black 3.0, which is designed to be a available version of black, Vanta Black, because the original Vanta Black is only for use by Anish Kapoor. He bought the rights to it. Okay, I'm going to be quite liberal with this. I'm already getting paint all over my hands. So we're just going to put a couple of blobs, be quite generous with it in the first few letters, and we're going to do the same down here as well. You've got a fair amount of working time with this sort of paint, so you can be fairly generous, and we can always come back and add more. We're going to take our grout tool and we're literally just going to try and smooth the paint over the top of that, and you'll see that it starts to infill all the letters. Don't worry too much about making a mess, we can always tidy it up afterwards. And that's what you've got your wet wipes on hand for as well. Now, being acrylic paints, these are completely water soluble, so they will completely come off if you use water. So if you wanted to remove the infill, you can always remove it using wet wipes, or you could quite easily put it in the dishwasher, given it's anodized aluminium on a cold wash. It would always pull it out, and then you can use a toothbrush to remove the rest of it as well if needed. So it is quite messy, so don't be too afraid of getting it on your hands. It's all going to come off later on anyway. I'm getting it on the mat here as well. There we go. Yeah, just show you how easy it comes off with just a wet wipe. As I say, always make sure you've got plenty of these to hand when you're doing a bit of infill. Got a good 10 minutes work time with it as well, so you don't need to be too quick, don't need to worry about it drying out or anything like that. Okay, and then once we've done that, what we're going to do here is we're just going to tidy this one up a little bit. We're just going to start to polish back around the logo, and as you can see, it's pulling off the paint wherever we wipe. And then we can leave it like that, and we can get around the edges later on. And once it's dried in the centre, we'll just be able to wipe straight across the back and top of it, and it will pick up all of the spare paint as well. So now that side's done, we are going to move on to the next one. So again, taking the squeegee, probably need some more paint for this one. So let's see, we're running out of paint there. Need some more paint adding to this one. There we go, you can see that's just how that's gonna look nice and neat there. Never been able to decide if that's good or bad with screw holes under the feet. Maybe it's really good to hide the screwed if multiple sets of feet are included. Yeah, you need to include multiple sets in my opinion. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 2 spares. It's not great, it's not ideal. We're just going to start to wipe around the edges again. And let's say, hopefully by the time we've done the rest of the board, this will all be dry. Hope if I didn't touch it with my fingers. Bear in mind, it is still wet. So we do need just a touch more paint. Just me being clumsy. Come on, paint. There we go. More than enough. Okay. There we go. Try again. Try not to let a stray corner get into the logo here. And we're just trying to take up the thick of it at this point. We're not trying to take it all up and make it look pretty. We've got plenty of time to do that. We're just literally trying to make sure that we're taking the thick of it off and keeping it nice and neat and tidy. Go. So you guys will see right at the end of the build how I tidy the rest of that up. I'm just going to pop that to one side now and leave that to dry. Clean up my hands again. As I say, always good to have plenty of wet wipes on hand. What is this tool you're using? This is just a rubber grout tool. It's designed for laying grout and tile. You just push the grout around with it and it just makes a nice seal with whatever surface you're touching. Seeing you do this always scares me. Nah, it's that easy. Interesting. Infill equals keyboard bodywork. Yeah. Keyboard infills in classic cars. Jane doing custom pinstriping. I could do. I've had to go at pinstriping before. Didn't the van do a collab with a car guide to make a lowrider inspired video? He did. One of my friends, Glue, has actually got one of those books. It's water soluble, dude, is the paint, so you don't need to worry moisture nachos. Any paint you get on the desk mat, it's going to come off as soon as you get any water on it. It's dead easy to remove. Dead easy to remove. Okay, so just making sure I've not got too much black paint all over my hands. We're now going to do the little bits around here. Now these are a little bit more difficult, just for one reason, the fact that they're a little bit closer to an edge. Probably not going to use quite so much paint, just one tiny blob this time. And what we're going to do here is just try and take off the thick of it and then come back over the logo a couple of times. Just try and impress that in. There we go. That should be good. I'm going to say we're going to just take away the thick of the paint here, making sure we remember to get this inside edge because it's easy to get stuff like that. So as you can see, it does get on the inside edges. I'll try and angle this to show you. It's just on this inside edge here, so just make sure you clean up all of that. It's easy to forget and then realise when you're putting keycaps on that you've missed areas like that. Tidy up that edge just like so. Just going to take off the paint from the pad, just like that. And then just give this a tiny bit more of a clean up. And I'm just trying to scrape off the paint off the top. There you go. So you can see there's not too much paint left. Taking away the thick of it. Make sure all of the sides are nice and clean that we can get to, and then we'll come back and tidy the rest of it up later on. That should be infilled nice and neatly once we take away the top layer of paint later on. As you can see, all of the logo is filled with paint there, so nice and easy to finish that one off. The next one is probably a little bit more difficult, so this is where I am going to grab a couple of sheets of paper or something to put underneath it. This one's a little bit more difficult because we're trying to do the Voyager logo in here, and we're going to be using silver paint for this. So making sure we really clean the black off the spudger now. Clean up fingers. But this is just shows you how easy this paint comes off. If you do want this paint to stay on, you can cover it with the same. You can get like an acrylic lacquer you can apply in the same way over the top of it afterwards. But as you can see, paint comes off dead easy. There we go. Cool. So now we're going to move on to some silver. Now this is a different brand. And this is PBO Studio Acrylics. This is what I usually use for brand. It's only for black. I use black 3.0. We can show my. There we go. So again, we're just going to put a small series of blobs. On there. Now this has got a slight metallic sheen to it. Got more than enough paint now. And again, we're just going to do exactly the same. So we're just going to push it in. And then you'll be able to see in a second how we take that away. Almost run out of baby wipes now. Wet wipes, whatever you want to call them. This really is the trick to this though, just having plenty of baby wipes available. So you see we just got it on the back, so we're just going to take it off the back straight away. Nice and simple. Take it straight off the back. See we've got it on the side as well, so just going to take it off the side. As I say, you can always wait until it's dry to do this. Give the spudger a nice clean. Make sure we've got no residual paint on there. Or very little. And then what we're going to do is just going to do one more quick pull across the top. No pressure, just really lightly. Take off the majority of the paint there. And that's probably good enough for us to leave on this one. And we can let that dry now. We'll just take it off of this handle part here. And then we can wait for that to dry, we can come back, clean it up nice and neatly, and job is done. There we go. So that's that bit done. We're now going to move on to the actual build. As I mentioned before, Mike does want me to build this in US ISO. So effectively what we're going to have is a 6.25U space bar. We're going to have split right shift, we're going to have full left shift, have ISO enter and full backspace. That's the order we're going to build it in there. Let's see if there's any questions about the infill. How do I clean a desk mat? These ones in the washing machine, 20 degrees for a quick spin. It takes like 15 minutes on my washing machine. Your washing machine may vary. And then hang it out on the line and let it dry. Simple as that. We think gold paint for the Voyager one on the back. Photos of silver and gold against space backdrop. Yeah, I wanted it to match the board, so the silver's to match the silver of the board rather than to do anything gold or anything like that. Can't wait for my commute. Yeah, social night. Have a go at it. Really do. It's dead easy. I'm intrigued that the leftover paint still dries and is cleanable after the fact. It's acrylic paint, man. It comes off dead easily. You know, you can have it dried all over your hands or whatever, and it comes off dead easy. If any of them is more worrying than the others, it's the ones with sparkles in, because some of the sparkles are really tiny. But to be honest, I've never had an issue with it in all of the boards I've done. I've done maybe 30 boards with this method now, so I'm broadly comfortable. We'll be fine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build up these stabilizers. Now we are using 205 grade 0 to lube these stabilizers today. I'm going to just see if I've got another wet wipe. Yeah, I've got plenty more left for the rest of the stream. I've got silver all over my hands now, but we're good. I'm intrigued that, yeah, we've covered that. Where are you going to put the apostrophe key? That's entirely up to Mike. He'll be using the board. I won't program it for him. I'll leave the programming to him. Don't need that. So what we're going to do now is just build up these stabilizers. So for each stabilizer we need a wire, 2 housings and 2 inserts. The inserts we're going to quickly clip, so these are unclipped, these are GMK screwing stubs. So if I hold this up to the camera, you can probably see that there's 4 legs on the base of this. We're going to take off the leg just in this corner, we're going to take the leg just in this corner, and then we're going to leave it nice and flush on the base. So I'm going to clip those. And then you can see that we've now got just 2 legs remaining, and it's nice and flush on the base. So we're going to rinse and repeat that across all of the stabilizer inserts. And this will just stop them being mushy, and it will make them much nicer typing experience. Layers, my friend. Yeah, you can put everything on a layer if you need to. One of the guys that I work with that's slightly into this hobby, he has a KVD fans board, and everything he has is set to a layer, but his top layer has 0 functionality, so you can toggle to another layer using a single key, but if you don't know which key it is, all of the keys are set to KC no, which means I have no function on his top layer in QMK. Just so that people don't use his board. Okay, almost through these now. I think we've just got one more left to do if I'm counting right. Okay, last one. Okay, that's all of our legs clipped. Let's move these into the bin. There we go. Okay, so that's those all ready. The next thing to do is to lube one side of the wire. So we're going to be fairly generous on the wire, but not too generous. It's expensive lube after all. So we're going to take a fair amount on the brush, get rid of the dog hair that's plaguing this build, and then we're going to wipe that onto one side of the stabilizer wire, making sure we cover it on all sides, making sure it's got a nice even coverage all the way around. We're then going to take our stabilizer housing, we're going to push the insert through, and then we're going to push that inside the second hole on the insert and clip it into the front as well. There we go. And that's in place now. We're going to take a little bit more lube on the brush. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side of the wire. Being fairly generous but not too much lube. That's all put together. Now we're going to lube the stabilizer wires themselves. Again, we're going to take a touch of lube on the brush, not too much, just basically wiping it around the sides of the container. Thin layer on one side, turn it over, thin layer on the other. Again, thin layer on this side, still plenty of lube on the brush, so I don't need any more. We're then going to take a small blob of lube, pop it in the back, and then same on the other side. With what's left on the brush, we're just going to come around the curve, make sure on both sides that if anything that touches plastic moves, it's going to be nice and lubricated. Then we're going to turn this upside down, take another small amount of lube, again you don't need much, and then just paint this across the bottom of the stabilizer housing as well. And that's one stabilizer done. I'm going to rinse and repeat that again for the remainder of the stabilizers. Just going to pop these together first off, make them a little bit easier to build. Just putting the inserts inside the housings, just so that when I pick up the wires I can get them in a little bit easier. Let's catch up with chat, see what's going on. Using that paint over a nice desk map, we covered that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, he's a bit of a joker, is my friend. I'm not going to mention him by name because he'd like that too much. You can always just use blanks to normally proof your keyboard. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, there we go. So we're going to pick up the next stabilizer. We're going to make sure we've got some lube on the brush again. Odin's now here as well, saying good evening guys, good evening Odin, good to see you my dude. Okay. Making sure we've got a fair amount of lube available on the brush. We've got too much just here, so I'm going to try and take some off. There we go. We're going to put this into the next stabilizer housing. Clip that into the front. Okay, I'm going to carry on lubing the rest of these now. Still plenty of lube on my brush, so I don't need to add any more. Okay, making some good progress now, guys. Take a small blob on the brush. It says trying to get some lube. Come on. There we go. I'm going to go into the back. Just a small amount. Just add a tiny bit around the corners. Making sure where any plastic moves has got some coverage. And then we're going to just paint a small amount just across the base with the stabilizers as well. So I've just got a little bit of plastic raised still. I'm just going to tweak this. There we go. That's two done. Okay, going to quickly do the third one. Do I band-aid mod? No, personally I dislike band-aid mod, so I tend not to do it. Way too much lube on the brush here. There we go. Mike didn't specifically ask for it, so I'm not going to do it for him. I assume he's going to have a second build for this board anyway, given the fact he's got a brass plate as well. There we go. And we're going to come back onto this side. Final side on this particular one. There we go. We're just going to quickly lube these ones, so we've just got the spacebar stabilizer to go. Okay, making some good progress now. Take a blob on the brush, into the back on both sides. And we're going to flip the stabilizer over. I'm going to thin layer it just on the base. And there we go, that's that one done. And we're going to move on to the spacebar, which is the last of our stabilizers that we need. Did I get him into keeps? Yeah, I did. He asked what I did in the spare time. We got talking. I showed him my old build streams before I joined Clack, and he started watching from there. He's probably watching now, to be honest. But I'm not going to say his name because that would give him too much of a kick. He'd like that too much, so it's not happening. plunk this last one in here. Okay. There we go. Going to quickly finish lubing these. And then I'll have to grab some more baby wipes, get my hands clean to get the grease off, and then we'll carry on with the build from there. Okay, take a small amount into the back of each one. And then onto the base as well. There we go, that's all of those done. Okay, just gonna grab some more baby wipes. As I say, always keep these to hand in the office with jobs like this. They're such a useful tool. Okay, just gonna give my hands a clean. Potentially don't question, but what's the downside? Oh, sorry, missed a few here. Only problem with lube across the base is matte back PCBs. Lube starts to seep out and creates visible grease spots on the PCB. Yeah, if you can see the PCB, like on the Gingham build maybe, on this it's not going to be an issue because you've got a plate in the way. You're not going to see it. Looks messy, just preference. Yeah, it is. It's fine. You can always clean it up afterwards with one of these. You can just give it a rub like this. You can see where I've dropped some bits of grease on there. That will dry completely fine. You can always do that. There we go, you can see. Okay. There we go. Some sharp edges. I've just caught the edge of the wet wipe there. You can use alcohol wipes as well, they work just as well. But yeah, that gets rid of the grease and will dry nicely as well. No issues with that. Also collects stick hair. It can. Have you tried plate foam? What does it do for plate materials? I have some plate foam to try out. Actually, I'm not sure where I put it, but I do have some plate foams to try out from MK Ultra, so I'll have those on stream in a couple of weeks. A greasy PCB is a happy PCB. It depends on the PCB, I suspect. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now is just going to bring the plate over and work out where the 6.25U spacebar needs to go. So in terms of that, it's there. It gives us 2 keys to the right of spacebar, 3 keys to the left. So then we can lift that off. We know that that wants to go in that position here. Pop those in place, take a screwdriver and one of the stabilizer screws. And when you're popping these in, guys, you don't want to over tighten. All you're trying to do is just to get it to sit flush with the PCB so there's no movement. You're not wanting to try and over tighten these. You don't want to screw into the PCB, you don't want to damage the PCB, you don't want to crush it. So just tight enough. You can start to feel when you get a slight bit more resistance, and that's where you want it to go. Then we need one for backspace, so that's up here. This board's going to have full backspace. Again, I'm just going to pop a screw in there. There we go. Forgot these are magnetic. That makes it a little bit easier. Again, not too tight, just tight enough. Okay, from there we're then going to put the ISO enter one in. So Mike has specified that this be ISO US. So we're going to put the ISO enter key in. Right in there. And anyone use Loctite secure screws? No need. No need at all. You're never going to be putting this through the forces that it needs to undo the screws or to lose any consistency on that. Mike confirmed ISO user. ISO US, I think he just wants to try it, and I think because he sent me the board, he felt like that would be an ideal opportunity to try it out. Okay, that's that one in place now. I'm going to move on to the last stabilizer, and this is going to be for full left shift. Now, as I said before, no lubing of switches needed today. These have been lubed by Straight Classy, ready for Mike, so when we get onto the switches in a minute, we'll be more than fine. Okay, and last stabilizer screw now. Jay with all this woodwork, it's just whatever auto, I don't know, playlist plays off the back of the Nightbot. It's like an auto DJ thing called Monster Cat, so that's what's playing at the minute. We can change it with different options. I'm not a big fan of this, but some people said they like the music earlier on. Mike from NK's ISO. I don't think he usually does. He just asked for me to build him a board with ISO support. So now we're going to lay on the PCB. We can see that everything. Sorry, the plate on the PCB. We can see that everything fits together nicely. It's now time to take our switches. Now these are T1 switches, which have been lubed by Straight Classy with MCG 129. So there we go. That's the lube that's been used on these. So it's my first time trying MCG lubed switches as well, which is crystal lube. Just going to pop a switch in each corner first. Pop them into the plate, and then we'll pop them into the PCB as well. See how that all sits together. Okay, that sits together nice and tight. I'm not going to need to solder anything in place to hold the board together while we go around and push the rest of the switches in here. Okay, so pop one in here as well. Then into the bottom corner too. Okay, so now we're just going to go through and pop the switches into all of the slots. Just making sure they're both pressed into the plate and pressed into the PCB as well. I haven't listened to Monster Cat in ages. Good throwbacks. Yeah, it was just the first one. I thought I'd try all the playlists out. Means that Brian and I don't get into trouble when we upload YouTube VODs for having copyrighted music as well, which is good. Brian likes Monster Cat. There we go. Is that a stab set up for ISO? Yes, Visionaire. So Mike has asked for this to be ISO US. So full left shift instead of split like I have on this board here, but with an ISO enter key. That's his request. Funny how nobody really wanted to touch T1s when KB Defense had them in stock. Yeah, I bought some when they were in stock. These were Mike's supply. I know Mike was one of the proxies for the switches, so he had these as well, I assume. Sent them over to Classy for lubing. We'll give them a try out in a minute and see what I think. Zombie says, what did I miss? You missed a Gingham build, or the finishing off of my Gingham, which is now wearing GMK Hyperfuse and is ready for service in my garage. And now we're building the Space65 for Mike from Novelkeys. And earlier on we did some infill for some of the logos on the case, so we'll be going back and tidying those up in a few minutes once we finish doing this build. Then we'll put the case together, we'll pop some keycaps on there, do a bit of a sound test, and then we'll finish the stream. The smoky housings looks really nice. Too bad you didn't really get to see them. Yeah, the smoky housings are lovely. They are really, really nice. Slightly different to ink housings, but still really nice. Anyone know how to program a non-QMK M65A PCB? I think they're boot mapper, I think, dude. I think. We'll still get copyright claims for this, just not strikes, just like all the music I play. Fair enough, dude. It does say, though, that it's not copyright strikeable. So we'll see. We'll see. Speaking of Gingham, I finally secured a HHKB HS60V2 today, so finally happy to. Nice, dude, nice. Yeah, the HS60V2 is a nice PCB. I've got one in one of my builds I use for breaking the switches. Okay, so this is going together really nicely, guys. Loving the look of this carbon fibre plate. Everything looking nice, neat and even. He didn't specify which caps I was to use, so I'll give him stepped. I'm sure that'll be fine. Mike seems like a man of culture. And we all know that step caps are the best caps. Oh, carbon fibre plate. Did you show the other plate? Did I miss it? The other plate, yes, I can get it out when we finish building. I've got the parts drying over the top of it at the minute. But the other plate is a brass PVD covered plate. But this is a carbon fibre plate. I get an error when trying to find it in bootmapper client. Interesting. Are you certain the board works? Don't know. Smoky housings match that carbon fibre board so well. Yeah, the smoky houses look great. I like to use ink switches with carbon fibre just because it looks good. Claims and strikes not the same thing. Okay, interesting. I don't know. We get both, I think. So, I'm just trying to find a way to reduce those. Okay. What caps are you going to feature on the board? Mike has sent some GMK keycaps over. He wants deep space putting on the board, keeping the space theme, which again is why I've got the space images on behind me. So full on space theme. Space Deathmatch. I did have a space-based t-shirt on earlier on today, but I got it dirty in the garden, so couldn't wear that in the end. Okay, almost there now, guys. Going to grab some keycaps off of the Gingham just for a second, just so we can make sure we get the bottom row in the right place. Because the last thing I want to do is solder this wrong and have to resolder it. I'm just going to steal the keycaps from here. There we go. Set of hyperfuse is so damn old. It's been used on about 30 different boards now. Okay, so that's where that goes. Nicely in place. In fact, we'll leave that on there for just a second. And then what we're going to do is just pop the keycaps on the switches, just drop them into place, making sure that they're in the right positions. There we go. Just make sure we're using the right slots for these. It's rare I build with a 1.25U set of keys across the bottom row these days. Okay, that's all of those in place. Now I can remove the keycaps. And there we go. That's everything in place and in position and ready to go. Leave the rest of those switches, move them to one side. And now we're going to get on with the soldering. Let's see what's going on in in these. What caps are you going to feature on the board? We talked about that. Tried T1s yesterday and just felt kind of like worse sealers. Yeah, they're not quite as good as CLEOs. They're maybe 95% of ways CLEOs. These feel really nice lubed actually. I have my headphones in, so I can't hear if there's any scratch or audible noise, but they feel lovely. Feel lovely. Got to get that key money. Yeah, man, go get it. Yeah, these feel really nice. Brian's saying, correct, claims are not equal to right. We get claims on every single build stream, trust me. Well, this is supposed to be claim-free music. This is supposed to be what you're able to use on any stream without getting a claim against it, so let's hope that that happens. I used to use a different playlist, but by the same bot on my old streams, and I only ever once had a copyright claim, and that actually happened last week for a stream I did in last July. So it's interesting how some of these things work. Speaking of Mike, my Novelkeys Springs just came in. Oh, nice. Mine should be here on Monday, so tomorrow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying those out. Okay, so you're going to show them off when Jay is done, right? There we go. Clicky Leaf's probably some sticky lube. Didn't think that could happen, to be honest, but should go away. Yeah, just keep using them, dude, and see if they clear up. Right, okay, guys, it's now time to solder this board. So I'm just going to double check from the base that everything is showing through, and where we've got switches through, I've not bent any pins. I had a couple of issues a couple of weeks ago where I had a couple of bent pins on a board, so I'm just double checking to make sure we don't have any bent pins. I found one just here, so I'm just going to remove that switch. Just grab a switch removal tool. I'm just going to quickly pop the switch out. You can see we've got a bent pin there. Switch it out for something that doesn't have a bent pin. And there we go, all looking good. Just going through one by one, making sure I can't see any bent pins. Another one just here. There we go. Okay, all looking good around here. And the bottom row. That one looks like it's bent, yeah. There we go. There we go. All looking good there, guys. So that's all now nice and in place. So now we're going to get on with the soldering. A Pixel Hero, thank you very much for the tier 1 sub, dude. Subscribe for 6 months. I'm currently on a 6-month streak. That's awesome, dude. Thank you very much for that, man. SHMT1 are not going to be sold anymore. I would like to try. Yeah, you might be able to find some on the aftermarket. I know the prices have gone up, but to be honest, if you want a good tactile switch, just try a Zelio V2, and you'll be more than happy, in my opinion. There's also a ton of Holy Pandas just being shipped out from Mastrop as well, so if that's more up your street, you can always try them as well. Okay, just going to take it nice and slow across this board. And then from there we'll test the PCB, make sure everything's working. And then we'll go ahead and put the rest of the board together. I'm not going to put the feet on the board today because I have to make sure the board's fully working before I ship it to Mike. I don't have to want to take it apart or anything else like that, and I still need to do the logo on the inside. So I'm not going to put the feet on during the build stream. That's the only thing I'm not going to do today. Want Holly Pandas for PCB mount bases? Yeah, that is one downside to them. But most things, most builds these days, you're going to use a plate, unless you're using a half plate or something. It is possible to do PCB mount builds with plate mount switches. It just takes a long time because you have to do one leg at a time. Then you have to align everything, straighten it all up, put keycaps on there, make sure everything is as you want it. Heat pads up again. to try and maneuver things into the right position, and then solder the second pins. So it can be quite time consuming, but the results are worth it sometimes. If you like the switches, it's only a few hours of effort to put in. It's well worth it. Okay. Almost the first row done. There we go. Did you know that California Girls by Katy Perry and Crab Rave by Noise Stream mash up perfectly? Nice. Is this Crab Rave? Hold on. Yes, it is Crab Rave, yes. Noise Storm, Crab Rave, yes. So there we go. Fun fact, Noise Storm has been making good whoops since 2010. Now his entire history is just a crab meme. Aww. Can you maybe have a look at the board today? Or is it still in the other office? No problem if you can't have a look. No, it's not in the house at the minute, dude. It's in the storage in the garage that I have at the minute for all the boards and stuff like that I'm not using actively. Sorry, DNL. You will be on build next week as soon as the springs turn up. I did have a text message from Royal Mail today saying that I was expecting 2 parcels on Monday, so I'm hoping that one is your set of springs, and then we can take a look at that. I will take some pictures of the board and send them to you during the week as well. Okay. Just going to work our way down these rows now, guys. Well, along the rows and down the columns. And then once the soldering's done, we'll move over, we'll test the board. And then once we've tested the board, we'll then carry on putting the case together. We'll clean up the infill that we did earlier on, assuming it's dry. Looking at it, I think the black's dry. I'm not so sure about the silver. Okay. This one seems less whoopy. Does this music? I also need film recommendations for the flight to Seattle in a couple of weeks, guys. So a week on Wednesday I fly out to Seattle. 17 hours to get there, I think, and 21 coming back. So if anyone has any film suggestions, I've got Train to Busan on my list currently, and the Raid 2 as well, because I've seen the first Raid film. I need to see the second one. But if anyone's got anything else that they recommend, I would love to hear your recommendations. Okay, almost through the second row now, guys. Getting there slowly. Apologies it's taking so long. Is chat buggy or just dead right now? It's just dead. It's when I'm soldering. People tune out when I'm soldering. They want to hear the sound test. They want to hear the boards in action. They want to see keycaps being put on. They want to see everything looking really pretty. They don't want to see soldering happening. No one loves watching people solder. That is the worst part of the stream for anyone, I'm sure. Especially when the pads are like this and just take forever to take solder, which is unusual. But we're getting there now. We're getting there. We're about halfway through the board, so not too much longer to go now. It's quiet. Dead. Any Wes Anderson film? Alright. Honestly, I'm leaving switches. Nice. Nice. I usually leave switches on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning with a coffee in front of the telly, but this week I didn't have to because the switches were looped by Straight Classy. So everyone's a winner there. Finally getting around to fixing one malfunctioning switch on my TMR50 and the entire board won't even register when plugged in. Rip man, that hurts when that happens. Similar thing happened to me with Gingham. I used it earlier on and it was fine when I was testing the PCB this afternoon, and then I put the switches in, didn't like it. But I think that's more a driver issue than a board issue, because it's just saying it doesn't recognise it in Windows. So that should be a dead simple fix. Okay, almost there on this row now as well. Okay, just 2 more rows left to go. The bottom row is a short one, given it's a spacebar row. That should be relatively quick. Okay. Try and do these 2 rows in parallel, so it seems like it takes half the time, even though it doesn't really. Okay. Almost there now, guys. Couple more minutes and we'll be done with this, and we can test the board, and then from there we can clean up the infill works we did earlier on, and then we can keycap the board, pop it together, and then give it a try out, see what it looks like. Making good progress now, guys. Almost there. I'm going to be through these last 2 layers in just a minute. And then we can start to get this board looking ship shape. Once we've done this, we'll have a quick catch up with chat, we'll have a drink, and then move on to the next step. Okay. A few more switches left to go now, guys. Okay. Well, it's not an alcoholic drink, sadly. It's just Coca-Cola. Don't use a drink when I'm streaming. That'd be terrible, especially when it's someone else's board. If it's one of mine, it's not too bad, but I hate to have too much alcohol and then mess someone else's board up. Okay, last switch now. There we go. That is all of the soldering done. So I'm just going to move my soldering iron to one side. Pop this solder away, then we'll get this plugged in, we'll give it a try, we'll see what we get to. Just catching up on chat then. Drilling PCB for hole ties. Nice, dude, nice. Anyone have tips taking apart out switches? I have a black AT101 that I need to clean out. Yeah, get an Alps switch opener. They're kind of like a 3-pronged trident. You push it down, dead easy. Anarchy actually might be able to help you out with where to buy one because he sent me one a little while back, so might be able to point it out. Brian says he also has some T1 switches already lubed and filled by Straight Classy. Need to find a home for those. Nice. I always considered the lull in chat to be like a holding of one's own breath while the other guy does something requiring attention and focus. T1s are not coming back new boards. No, sorry dude, sorry. I literally haven't ever used it, but right after I built it, it worked. Oh, I'm sorry, Dixie. I'm sure you'll get there, my man. I'm sure you'll get there. Also, getting the tabs apart on the AT101 is so damn hard. Yeah, if you don't want to save the board, just rip it apart, man. There we go. You've got to be responsible. Yeah, yeah. Just Coca-Cola today, sadly. Maybe I'll do a drunk build stream when next time I'm building one of my boards, but not when I'm building someone else's. Okay, I'm just going to steal this USB cable and plug that in. Okay, so all looking good there. The side LEDs are on as well. Look like my Rubik's Cube over. Let me just grab up Switch Hitter and then we'll give this a try. See what we get. These switches feel great, by the way, classy. Still tactile, even though they're lubed. I can't hear them, so I can't tell if there's any scratch that we're hearing. Okay, all working from that perspective there, looks like. Caps are working as well. Okay, this next key might not. Oh, it does. I wasn't expecting it to. A lot of the times on ISO builds we have to reprogram them separately. Z key not working, I'll have a look at that in a second. Could just be my soldering. Okay, well, we've done that. Control, Win, Alt, Space. Alt, and that will be FN. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look at the Z key, because Z key is not working. And that's because I didn't solder it at all. There we go. This is why we don't turn the soldering iron off until we finish soldering. Until we finish checking the board. Okay. There we go. That's the soldering now done. Confident that'll work. Drunk dual build stream, that sounds fun. Anarchy has the files for the Alps opener, but it needs to get cut. Yeah, if you have that file, Anarchy, I'm sure people will be able to get them cut. So I'm just going to try the Z key again now. Click into the app, and there we go. I can see that's working. So all of the keys now work on the board, apart from the function key, which we can test out later on. Oh, if I can get that back in, there we go. Okay, so all looking good. Give your feedback, I won't have hurt feelings, and just try to learn from it. Well, when I take my headphones off and we do a bit of sound test, I'll give you some feedback then, dude, and I can actually hear the switches directly. So now we're going to come back to the board. As you can see, it looks a little bit untidy, but we're going to give this a nice clean up now, and you guys will see just how easy the infill is. So we're just going to not press, but just go over lightly, and as you can see, it starts to clean up. And then it's just a case of just gently cleaning it all up, and you start to get a feel for how that's going to look once it's all settled and done. There we go. Come over on the other side. And there you go, guys. You can see that now is starting to look a little bit better. We'll give it more of a clean up after the stream, but you can see just how easy it is to pull the unwanted paint off and keep the logos looking good. Just needs a tiny touch up later on, just on this A in grey. There's a tiny little bit that's where the paint's just come out, but you can see how nice and neat and clean that is. I'll get rid of the switch here so it's not taking the screen. There we go. So there we go, guys. That's how easy the logo infill is. I would say we can tidy up the rest of the board at our leisure. It just needs a good wet and dry polish, and that'll be all good. So there we go. Yeah, switch hit is gone, guys. I've got rid of it. There we go. So that's all nice and neat and dry and tidy. We can put that down on the desk now. We'll take the top case. We'll just have a look at the logo on this, see if this is looking ready to clean up as well. It looks like it is ready. So I'm just literally giving this a good old scrub. Making sure I get in to all the nooks and crannies that I want clean. And there we go, guys. How neat does that look? Yeah. Everyone always worries when I do this that what it looks like when I put the paint on, it's never going to come clean. But wet wipes, man, they make everything clean. This looks a little bit damp still. Let me just grab another wet wipe. Not quite sure this one's ready, but we'll go with it. Different paint. It does usually take longer to dry, does this silver stuff. Okay. Just going to give it a good scrub all over, making sure that it's nice and clean. And there we go, guys. That's the Voyager 1 silver logo infill as well. I'll try and get that to focus for you guys. Come on. There we go. So there we go, guys. That's the logos all infilled on this board. There is the logo on the inside, which I will do for Mike later on, so I'm hoping you guys can see that. I will get that logo infilled later, but it's not one for on stream today just because it's got too much to dry and everything else. But for that's the reason why I'm not going to put the feet on the board. Came up clean, yep. Need to infill mine. Yeah, it's so easy to do, guys, and like my hands are completely clean from the paint. It's just using baby wipes. It's dead easy. Wet wipes, whatever you've got to hand, it's really easy. It looks neat. It looks tidy. It looks great. So cool. Please skip the song. I'm not sure I can. There you go. Song skipped. Hope that's good enough. What's in the wet wipes? Many different types out there. So these are Dettol surface cleaning wipes. They're what you use for kitchens. Ask your wives, your missus, if you don't do it yourself. My wife buys me these for the office because I always end up with coffee rings on the desk, but they work perfectly for this. I've used baby wipes in the past as well before. They work just great as well. But yeah, anything like that will work. They just pull off the paint nicely. To be honest, even a wet cloth will do because it's acrylic based paint. You can even just use a wet cloth and pull it off. Don't use acetone. It will damage your anodization. You can get acetone free nail varnish remover. If you use that with a toothbrush, it'll bring anything out and it won't damage your anodization. So, but that's acetone free, so make sure it's acetone free if you want to get rid of anything. Didn't think infills were so easy to apply, to be honest. Yeah, yeah, a lot of people think it's difficult. This is the second time in a couple of weeks I've done it. I did it on another board a couple of weeks ago. It is really dead easy. It's dead simple, and as you can see, the results are stunning. I do need to do a tiny little bit of touch up just in this corner here, but that I'll do with a brush and just dab it on. But as you can see, that looks great now. I think I did the cipher as well. I don't think I did that on stream, but I did the cipher as well at some point. Okay. Either way, now it's time to put the rest of the board back together, and then we can start to do sound tests and other bits and pieces. So first thing I'm going to do is take the top case. I'm going to flip the PCB over and realign it. Now, as we discussed before, this does only mount on three sides. It mounts on the left, right and base. It doesn't mount on the top, which is an interesting design choice. Just going to get a couple of these in place. That's one in place. Going to come up to this top corner diametrically opposed to where we were. Okay, that's that in place. Good quality hex screws as well. Always good to see that. Sometimes you get hex screws that are easy to round off. These ones are really good quality. Try mounting on the left and right sides might be more consistent. It's not my board, it's for Mike. I'm going to mount it as the designer intended. If it's mine, which I'll have on stream in a few weeks' time when mine arrives, probably after Seattle now, I may do something different with the mounting. I might try burgerizing it and doing something different with it that way. And I've also tempted to try and turn my Exent into a bit of a gasket mount when that arrives as well. Okay. There we go. So if you guys do want to have a go at any infill and you want any advice, do hit me up. Try and make sure you use water-based acrylic paints because they always look better in my opinion, and they're easier to remove as well. The oil-based acrylic paints tend to have a sheen to them that's not attractive in my view. So try and make sure you get the water-based ones. Sophia Wolf is here as well. Good evening, Sophia. Thank you very much for joining. Okay, that's that all put together there. Now I'm going to pop the two halves of the board together, flip it over, and screw it down. Now we've got some smudges here. I just need to give it a proper clean with the baby wipes later on. Gonna start in this bottom corner, just lining up the two edges of the case, make sure everything feels good. I'm just going to tack this together. It's going to be finger tight, it's not going to be fully tightened up, and that's because I'm going to go diametrically opposed again in a second. I'm waiting for Mr. Talisman to tell me all the other options I can use instead of that. And then what I'm trying to do on this side is just feel to make sure I've got all of the gaps and the seams aligned correctly. That feels good. So now I'm going to tighten this one up full, then come back to this one, tighten this one up full, and then I can carry on doing the two other ones as well. Screws under the feet, yeah I know man, it sucks. I'm not putting the feet in purely for that reason. I'm not actually going to put the feet in before I send it to Mike either, just in case he wants to change something or tweak something. Any specific paint you use, Jay? Yeah, so in terms of brands, for black I use Black 3.0, which is by Stuart Semple. You can find that on his website. For anything else, other colours, especially metallic colours, I use PBO, which is a French studio. These are about £4, £5 on Amazon, so they're probably about $6-7. Yeah, it's rare I can get them in this size anymore. I tend to have to buy them in bigger sizes, but you know, I've used this on maybe 30 boards and I've still got half a tub left. I've yet to find a colour that PBO can't make, so they do pretty much every colour. What's been your favourite case to build in? Like the most comfortable, best design? Of course, it's the JO1, which is my board. That's by far my favourite board. Failing that, the easiest to build board that I've ever had is probably the Prophet, which is this board here. I really enjoyed that build. It's a really nicely designed case. But there's a Space65 all put together. That infill looking stunning on the base. Look at that. Look how good that looks. Even if I do say so myself. And the logo's on top as well. Nice and crystal clear. Burgerizing with O-rings on top and bottom of the place around the screw. Yes, exactly that. Okay guys, so someone wanted to see the brass plate before as well. I can't remember who it was, I apologise. This is the brass plate that's also available for the builds. Alchemist KB saying he likes the SPAC actually. Yeah, I really like it to be honest, it's nicer than I thought it would be. Okay, now it's time to pop some keycaps on there. Mike has sent Deep Space, GMK Deep Space on here, so this is brand new, unused. And as you can see, all of the kits there as well that need to be used. Should we need them there? Deep's back on the SPAC, absolutely. Good call on the carbon fibre over brass. Yeah, it just fits the theme better, especially with the black infill. God, I hate GMK trays. If Living Speedbump, if you're still watching, man, GMK trays, GMK keycaps, yay! Okay, let's just go and start by putting the muds in place. We did go stepped caps. That purple, yeah, the purple's great, and it's a lot more legible than it appears on stream as well. I don't know how well this is going to show, but the legends are so legible on this set. Everyone worries about the contrast, but it works really well. Really easy to read. 6.25 space. Alt and FN. Jump in with some arrow keys. Okay, guys, need to help me decide which colour ISO enter should we use. Should we use the blue, the yellow, or the purple? You guys can pick. I always used to skip it. Alright, I can skip this song if someone wants me to skip it. Boom, done. Yellow, says Sophia Wolf. She's in first. 2 for yellow. Okay, yellow it is. Too late if you haven't voted or decided. Okay. I'll see if I can get the keycap on. There we go. Okay. So the reason why I've not put an escape key on yet is because Mike has sent an escape key for this in the form of an artisan, so I'm going to pop that on last and show you to you guys first. Too many people are saying purple now. Sorry guys, yellow was the winning. Someone got in there with yellow first. I think it was Sophia. And there's something about new keycaps, guys, that just it's just so nice putting keycaps on for the first time. I'm just going to guess what Mike wants up here. He probably doesn't want this, but he can change it if he wants to. Everyone's so personalised on what people want on the 65% macro column. T1 switches, yeah. T1's a bit of a surprise. These are Mike's switches. Mike had these and lubed by Straight Classy. So these are Mike's choice in switches. It's not my board. It is very much for Mike from Novelkeys. This is starting to look really good. This board's starting to really come together now. Sure, Mike likes scoops. Mike strikes me as a scoops guy, so I'm going to use a scooped keycaps rather than the barred ones. I do need one of the other keycaps in here. Literal Omega Lull says T1s are very okay switches, just slightly worse than Holy Pandas. Well, they're nothing like a Holy Panda in my head. They're a lot closer to Zelio's V2, but Zelio's V2 are nicer. These are 90-95% of a Zelio V2 in my head. that is where I view them. That was my original stance when I first tried them, and that view hasn't changed since I've used them on a board of my own, and since I've built a few boards with them now. Just need that last shift key. That one? Nope. Am I going blind? Can I not see the shift key that we need? No, it's because it's in here. Okay. And there we go, guys. That is Mike's Space65 with GMK Deep Space, T1 switches, infilled logos, and now the Pierce the Resistance, Mike's special artisan keycap that he's sent. So this thing blows my mind every time I look at it. And how cool is this? This is one of the nicest artisan keycaps I've ever seen. How good is that? I'm so jealous of this. I've got a pretty good artisan collection, but this one cap, well, it sets the whole board off. Look at that, guys. What the hell is this song? Sorry, guys, I don't like this. I'm going to have to skip this. There we go. Booper is legendary. She is, yeah. Oh, he is. I think it's a she. The cap is stunning. The whole board looks great. I'm glad that you guys picked the yellow because it just picks out the yellow in the cap now, the artisan cap. That great infill on the base. As I say, it just needs a bit of a wipe down, but as you can see, dead easy to do. I hope you guys will follow suit and do some of that as well. Is the pipe key the wrong profile? Did I pick the wrong one? I think I might have done, actually. You might be right. Because there was another pipe key in here. Yeah. Yep, good spot. Let me grab a keycap puller. There we go. Good spot. There we go. I use the one that's down here. There we go, guys. That's the board build. Use HHKB pipe instead of ISO pipe. Yeah, I use the ISO pipe which goes down here instead of the one that's supposed to go up there. So this set doesn't have the actual hash key that's supposed to go here. It has two pipe keys for ISO users, one there and one here. But technically that should be hash in hash tilde in ISO UK layout. So there we go, guys. That's how the board's all built, all put together. Kept these edges nice and clean. These are kind of a nice design feature. I do quite like those. Again, just here, nice and clean. Just need to pop the back bar in. I'm hoping this is fully dry now. As you can see, that's come out really nice. If it zooms in, focuses, there you go. So that's the silver infill on the bar there. And all the space images on the TV in the background, just to set it off for this build. I'm just going to lay this in place. And there we go. You can see that's got nice and neat across the USB port. And there we go, guys. What do you think to this, guys? What do you think to the build? Think it looks good? Think it looks good? I think it looks great. I'm looking forward to my Space65 coming now, and I'm really excited to try it out. What holds in that black bar? That is just magnets that hold it in. So there's 3 magnets and 3 corresponding magnets on this side. That one, both magnets have stuck there and the adhesive's gone, so this isn't held in place particularly strongly. There's not much holding that in, but it doesn't come loose when you shake it about. It's pretty sturdy, so I think it's okay. Still looks like a phone. Yeah, I think it does, but that's not a bad thing, right? I don't think that's a terrible thing. I'm not all about the artisan, 10 Strong says, but I love the build. Man, that artisan is dope. That is one of the nicest Cosmos I've seen, and I've seen a few. Okay, guys. Next thing to do is just give this a bit of a sound test. So I'm going to take my headphones off. So I apologise. I'm going to pause the music as well. and we'll take a look at what the board sounds like. I'm just going to do a small typing test. My typing, as you guys know, isn't the best, so save the jokes for it. I know what's coming, so let's see how this goes. It's a really, really snappy board. The board feels kind of weird actually, because it's carbon fibre. It's fairly firm, but because of the mounting system being down the sides and across the front, but not across the top, key press at the top of the board feels a lot softer than what it does down at the base of the board, which is kind of interesting. Spacebar sounds good. Happy with that. I think it feels good. I do think that I would possibly on mine not put the screws in to hold it along this edge here, and let it have the same flexibility. I know someone in chat did suggest that earlier on. It's not my build. I'll suggest it to Mike, see if he wants to do that and see how he wants to try that. But it is softer on this kind of top middle area than it is on the bottom middle area here. It's much firmer here than it is up here, and you can feel that in the typing experience. So I think it definitely does need those removing for me. If I'm gonna, when I do my own, I will definitely be doing that. But other than that, I think the board's good. It sounds good. It looks good. Let's just get some of that underglow working so you guys can see that as well. So there we go. You can see that is red. It's not orange. The camera's probably getting it wrong. You can see the glow off my hands is red. There you go. And then on the side as well, that looks kind of nice. It's nice and even. I think it looks quite good. Yeah, happy with that. Okay, let's just get that plugged back in. Okay, and pop the music on again in a second. Oh, if someone wants to hear a bit more typing, I'm not going to type properly. There we go. It does sound nice. It's really snappy. I think this sounds great actually. It's almost like machine gun board. I'm looking forward to mine now. I really like this board. I like this a lot more than what I expected to. It was definitely worth taking the extra time doing the 2 lots of infill on the board and the 3rd lot on the base as well. I'm going to do the insides for Mike as well, give it all a proper clean before I ship it back to him in the next couple of days. I'm really, really, really happy with how this board turned out. I'm going to press play on the music again to bring that back up. Not gonna lie, Jay, I hated the way you typed before, but I just found it really interesting. So I tell this story a lot, but the reason why I type like I do and I use my forefinger for spacebar and I move this hand around a lot is because my job, I have to use a laptop and it has a trackpad, and I use 2 mouse keys here, and then I've got a trackpad underneath, and I use this thumb for the 2 keys, and I use this thumb for the trackpad whilst I'm typing, and then I can quickly flick around an Excel spreadsheet or whatever else I need to do at work, and it's just where my typing came from. So you can make the fun of it. I don't mind. I'm completely comfortable with how I type. I have no problem with it. Having different typing technique doesn't mean you can't appreciate good things in life. Certainly, that's one way of looking at it. Hand motion is mesmerizing. Yeah, well, it's fair. The artisan is beyond S tier, said Brian. Yeah, it is, man. It's super, super good. Rope sounds and looks good. I think it looks great. I think this key set is probably a really good choice, especially the alphas. Maybe the mods, I'd go with something a little bit different. I'm thinking perhaps these alphas with Oblivion mods might be a better way for doing it, and that's what I do mine. Still yet to decide, but I really do like what the info looks like. I need to pick different colours for mine because I've got exactly the same board coming. so I'll have to do that. Fast type is fast regardless of style of typing. Yeah, that's probably fair. Jay's typing is so cool and personal. Let's all laugh at him. Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it. Typing style modified by having a mutant job. It's not a mutant job, but it's alright. My cousin uses the same hand position while gaming on a laptop. On a laptop. Yeah, it's just easier because for the laptop. And the big challenge with my company as well is because it's a bank that I work for. You can't use USB peripherals, which I know sounds crazy, but they're locked down on the devices, so you can't put any USB memory chip and take stuff away. You can't put like a flash drive in or anything like that, which means that you can't use USB mice, or you couldn't up until a short while ago, and you can't use USB keyboards. This all changed about 12 months ago, and they now do allow that. But yeah, up until that point, they just wouldn't allow it. But now we're starting to embrace bring your own device and all that kind of stuff, so it's doing that. Vision, I work for a bank or a fintech in the UK. I'm a senior program manager stroke product owner, and I'm responsible for a lot of the technology that gets used in our branches to service customers. So I'm responsible for somewhere in the region of about 20,000 devices for 50% of all transactions across one of the largest banks in the UK. Servicing methods, we've got kind of newer technology and older technology in the branch. All the newer stuff is kind of my bag, and I'm responsible for all of that, and I've got a couple of feature teams that look after how that all works. So yeah, so that's it. That's what I used to do that's what I do for work, and that's what I'll be tomorrow. The only bit of good technique I've discovered is to hit backspace with your ring finger, assuming it's not split backspace. I'm very much a pinky backspace. It's a maybe ring finger on occasion. I think to be honest, it depends on what my hand's doing, because my hand moves around so much. I think it depends on what finger's nearby. I think I can use all of them. 122 key terminal board. I've got the Hyper 7 on the wall behind me. That's 214 keys. So there we go. I am IBM Model M. Nice. Okay guys, I think that's it for the stream. Been going 2.5 hours now. I'm tired, I've got work in the morning, so I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for everyone joining today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm really impressed with this board. I think it's great. Certainly good value for money, being one of the cheaper boards of the group buys in the last year. Just a little bit of cleaning up and tidying up to do on the board now to make it perfect for Mike. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I hope you guys will now feel confident enough to have a go in for yourselves. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Discord or any other social media. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you all around, and I'll be back on the show on Thursday with Mr. Brian himself, Mr. Quakums, and we hope to give you a good show. But thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you later. See you guys.